Hey guys, I already know it's Dom, aka Bangsan, and as the title suggests, I'm gonna be doing a trans Q&A.
This. Yeah.
Now, I know I haven't recorded or posted a video in quite some time, and every time I tell myself that I'm going to get back into it, I end up not doing so. But I really wanted to allow a lot of people who follow me on social media to ask me something. I know sometimes people are curious and they're just like afraid to go out of their way and ask me a question. They feel like they might be intruding and all of that. But honestly, I've said it before on like my social platforms that me being open about being trans is not just a me thing. Like, it's also to help to educate other people and help to show younger trans kids that, you know, there's a way out and that things will be okay. So I posted on my Instagram and on my TikTok for persons to send me questions, and I did get a few questions. Mind you, I don't want this video to end up being too long, so if while I'm recording I realize that it's getting a bit lengthy, I might stop and like make a part 2. But if that's the case, I will always let y'all know. I will let you know when we get there. I will cross that bridge and reach up. Why am I can't remember what I say there go? Anyway, um if you're new here, make sure that you click the subscribe button because I'm for sure gonna try and come with some more content this year, I promise. So let's not even delay. Let's just go straight into it. Before I start answering the questions though, I do want to say today, the day that I'm recording this, is the 17th of May, and that signifies me being exactly 9 months on T. So I've been taking testosterone for exactly 9 months today. I'm not sure when I'm posting this, but just putting that out there so y'all are aware of like the timeline. So the first question says, what's it like going through your transition as a Jamaican living in Jamaica? Currently I'm not living in Jamaica. Well, I come and go. If you know me, if you follow me up on social media, you know that I travel a lot. But when I was in Jamaica, it's difficult because people assume your gender based on what they see. So I got misgendered a lot. Even with people hearing my voice, they still like would refer to me as a woman, and that was a bit rough for me, like dealing with that. I still somewhat deal with it in the States, but it's not as bad, I would say, especially because like no one really knows me here. While in Jamaica, you know, everybody, like, you know, I'm around familiar people, familiar faces, so it's like they're used to one person, and yeah. Next question says, how was it telling your mom about your transition? Actually, the like process and time period of when I told my mom wasn't as bad as I thought it would have been. If you know me or knew me prior to me coming out as trans, and you'd know that I've always been a very masculine person, even from when I was a child. So honestly, I should have known. But yeah, I've always been a very masculine person. And so I distinctly remember the conversation I had with my mom because I was not living in Jamaica at the time. I was overseas, and it was the day before I was going to start T. So the 16th of August, yeah, I called her and I told her that, you know, I have something I want to tell her. I'm not sure how she's going to react to it, but I would prefer if she hears it from me rather than hear it from someone else or see it somewhere else, because I knew that I was going to be public about my transition. And although my mom doesn't have a TikTok, she doesn't follow me on TikTok, I have family members on TikTok and on Instagram, and I'm pretty open about who I am, my pronouns, my identity, all of that. So I didn't want her to hear from somebody else. So she was like, okay, I'm kind of scared, but lay it on me. And I said to her, I can't remember like word for word, but I remember for the most part, I said to her that I'm going to be transitioning. I'm going to be taking testosterone, so, you know, I can completely medically transition into being a man. And there was like a little silence, and it made me nervous because I wasn't sure what she was gonna say. And she was like, okay, I can't really say that I'm surprised. You've always been pretty masculine, but like, what changes should I expect? And, you know, I walked her through it. I let her know, you know, a lot of the most obvious changes that would happen, and that was that. we're still working through the kinks. She still doesn't like call me Dom most of the time. She still calls me like my dead name oftentimes. She still refers to me as she, her, which is like very painful to hear. But I am also patient with her because I know that it must be hard for her as like, you know, the parent who grew me, you know. So yeah. How did you manage to transition in Jamaica with our transphobic and homophobic society? So this kind of ties into the first question that I got. But as I said, like I didn't start my transition in Jamaica. I didn't start my medical transition in Jamaica, so that was never like something that I was like too concerned about until I knew that I was gonna go back home. Um, and I mean, at the end of the day, Jamaica's society has been homophobic for as long as I can remember, and I used to identify as a cis masculine woman, so I already knew how to navigate like spaces with that, with being not, you know, with not being accepted and all that. And as I said, like a lot of people in Jamaica still see me as that. They just see me as a masculine woman, right? So it's like that's something that I'm used to, and I honestly just don't let it phase me because I know who I am, and these are not people who I have to interact with majority of the time, so I just don't care. Are the parents supportive? Did you have to wrangle them? Wrangle them is hilarious. All right, since you said parents, I'll include my dad in this one since the other question just simply asked about my mom. One thing that I didn't include when I was talking about, like when I told my mom, she did tell me that though she may not understand all of this, she may not get why I want to do this, I am still her child. And she did say child. She didn't like say daughter, which like that made me happy. She said I'm still her child, and no matter what happens, like she's the one who carried me for 9 months. She's the one who had to be in labor for how many hours. She's the one who had to push me out. So regardless of who I am and however changes I make to myself or to my life, she will always love me and support me. And I think that's also one of the reasons why I am so patient with her, because she's willing, you know, like I know it's hard, but she's willing to still be there and to love me and support me. My dad and I aren't extremely close like my mom and I are, and we never really had a conversation about it. I think someone told him, they saw it on my TikTok, and someone told him, like how I sat down with my mom and told her, yeah, I didn't do that with my dad. Um, yeah, someone told him, and then when I saw him, he came and like he hugged me and he was like, "Oh, why are you taking testosterone?" And I was just like, well, because it makes me happy and it makes me feel like who I'm supposed to be. And he just said okay, and that was it. We haven't really spoken about it since. Both my parents do still misgender me and say my dead name, um, but it's not a case where I feel like I'm at a constant fight with them, if that makes sense. Yeah. What is your experience with chest dysphoria? Oh my god, my experience is terrible. I have severe dysphoria when it comes down to my chest. Like, I'm most dysphoric about my chest right now more than anything else. So I used to be extremely dysphoric about my voice, but now my voice is extremely deep. So I have no reason to be dysphoric about it. My chest, I feel like constantly reminds me that I'm in a body that I'm not happy in. I got my first binder. For those who don't know, I used to identify as non-binary. I thought I was non-binary at some point, and I got my first binder at that point. And then recently, I think it was last year, around like August, September, around the time when I started T, I found out about trans tape and I started taping. And I've been taping ever since because it is a safer alternative to binding. The only thing is that some person's skin might be sensitive to the adhesive that they use on the tape, but thank God for me, I'm not allergic to it. It doesn't bother me at all, and I prefer taping over binding because I can work out in it, I can shower in it, I can swim in it. It just makes me feel more comfortable, while binding, like a binder will tend to give you more of a flatter look. Taping makes you feel more comfortable, so that's why I prefer to tape. But I am saving up towards top surgery. I do have a GoFundMe, so if anybody who's watching this video would like to donate to my GoFundMe, I'll put the link in the description below and you can, you know, support me. Was there any fear or anxiety around finding friends or partners who would appreciate your entire identity? Yes and no. So luckily enough for me, I have an amazing support system of friends. Family, not so much. I'm not really close with family, but I have an amazing support system of friends. So my friends have been there for me from day one, from my best friend to just my close circle of friends. Like they've all, anything I go to them with and I say to them, you know, guys, like I'm thinking of changing my pronouns. I'm thinking this, or I'm changing my name, or like I came to them and said, like, you know, I'm trans. I don't even remember if I like officially came out to my friends, but I just told them all these things and they were just like, okay, yeah, you want us to call you Dom? You want us to refer to you as he, they? Yeah, we got you. And I never felt unsafe around my friends. I never felt like I had to hide who I am. Partners, I've definitely been anxious about that because that might need a whole video by itself, man. I've dealt with people who have not seen me as me, and I feel like sometimes people see me in a way where they fetishize. Wow, fetishize, that might be right. Anyway, but they see me as they just use me as a fetish, right? Or because of my genitals, they're like, oh yeah, like I want you, but they don't actually see me as a man. They just see me because of the fact that I have, you know, whatever, the certain genitals that I have. And yeah, so there has been like fear and anxiety around like being in relationships and finding partners. How did you start tea? I'm thinking about microdosing on it and I don't know the process, cost, etc. Okay, so you can always DM me if you would like to have a private conversation about this. If you are based in Jamaica, I don't know if they microdose tea in Jamaica because the access to tea is very limited. But I do know where you can access tea in Jamaica, so you can always feel free to reach out to me. For me, I started tea in the States and I went through Planned Parenthood, which I know if you're in the States, it's much easier to tell them that you want to microdose and all that stuff. But yeah, the process was pretty simple for me. Here, I just made an appointment with them, saw the clinician, they spoke to me, just like asked certain questions to really see if I was trans or if I really had gender dysphoria, all that type of stuff. And then we ran blood tests to see like where my levels were at, and then we were able to start. And so yeah, Beard gang or not? Of course, my guy. Like, is this even a question, bro? Like, I'm currently trying to get my little stuff to grow. You feel me? I got a little stuff coming in though. A little stuff coming in, but you know, I'm being patient. I know it's gonna take a little bit of time, so I'm being patient with it. Uh, how has life been mentally for you on this journey? Honestly, like I know that being on testosterone can't save my life. It can't save me from my mental illnesses and you know all of that stuff, but it has made a huge difference for me mentally in terms of my confidence, my self-esteem, my happiness. I naturally just feel like a happier person every single day because I feel like I'm finally living my life as me and I'm finally living my life freely. So yeah. And then the last question, which kind of ties into one of the questions I got before, asks, how has tea or transitioning affected my relationship life? Which I guess I'll probably go into more details on this question, like just finish off on the details. Um, I think that's one of the reasons why I was afraid to come out as trans is because I dated someone once and I was considering transitioning at the time. And this was probably 2-3 years ago. And I asked them, you know, what if I was to transition, like, would you still date me? And they said no. And I asked them why. And this is, like, I completely respect everyone's opinions, everybody's sexualities, whatever. But she didn't identify as a lesbian. So I could not understand, like, why it would be so difficult to accept me and love me as a man, you know? And she told me that because that's not the person that she fell in love with, because like my voice would change, my entire body, my face would change, and that's not the person that like she wanted. And I said okay, and I kind of just like pushed it to the back of my head, pushed it deep down inside of me. I was just like, you know what, I don't know, maybe I'm not trans, I don't know what I am. I felt like I was struggling. And then I dated like more people after that, and like even since coming out as trans, I dated someone and she misgendered me a lot during the beginning, and I kind of like looked over those red flags. She would constantly make phrases or statements and say that, oh, you know, this is hard for me because I'm a lesbian, like I date women, blah blah blah. And it would constantly like make me question, like, okay, so why are you with me? Because you know that I do not identify as a woman, so why are you here? And that really damaged my self-esteem a lot, I'm not gonna lie. Because and it just made me feel like I would never find someone who would accept me as who I really am, and that they would always see me. But yeah, it made me feel like they would always see me as a woman, even though I'm not one, just because of my genitals. And that's like, I had a recent experience with that relationship where the person I was dating had identified as a lesbian. And we met and they told me that, you know, they wanted to be with me. They ended up falling for me. And I was like, okay, but then you wouldn't be a lesbian, you know? And she was just like, oh yeah, I know. And I'm kind of struggling with what to identify as. And I told her, like, don't worry about like a label. You like who you like, and that's it. Like, you don't have to worry about like, you know, proving something to anybody else. Like, you know what it is. It's like, you get what I'm saying? And then, so she kind of said it for just saying that she was queer. Fair, right? And then after everything, after, you know, we broke up and all of that, you know, she started identifying as a lesbian again. And I know that sexuality is fluid. I know that for a fact. But in the moment, that made me feel as if I was simply an experiment, as if, you know, you were just seeing if you could date someone other than a woman, or you were settling to date me because I still had like the genital that you wanted to mess around with. And it's something I try to explain to people all the time, that trans people are more than just their genitals. Like, you want to date me because of the type of, you know, what's in my pants, and I'm so much more than that. But yeah, actually, I guess fit this all in one video. It's less than 20 minutes. I guess I'll let it stay. But if anybody has any other questions, you can feel free to leave them in the comments down below, and then I will make part 2 to this Q&A. And you can also just leave anything in the comments, like any other videos that you would want to see me make, stuff that you would want me to specifically talk about, because I really could go into details about a lot of these stuff. I just chose not to, so that the video didn't get too long. But yeah, I'm gonna try to be back on YouTube for real, whether it's gaming stuff or just life stuff. I'm gonna try my best. So if you guys enjoyed the video, if I answered your questions, you know, feel free to give this video a like, and make sure that you press that subscribe button down below. And just know that I appreciate y'all for asking me these questions in the first place. And yeah, I hope y'all have a wonderful day.
Baby, are you me a steer upon? Your boyfriend I look, but no, me no care none. Baby girl, your hair on fleek, your body unique, but can you dance for me? Dance for me.